and bang. Guys, we are now live. TikTok Live number 89. We're back in it. I finished the board exam 1 week ago tomorrow. So 6 days ago. We're locked in right now. TikTok, I'm still in the office. Finished up. It took a while to finish up stuff. Got to skip the workout today. I promised I was getting back. I got to get back to comments. I'm between 3 and 6 months behind comments on all the platforms between TikTok. TikTok, I'm behind like 7 to 9 months because of graduation got rough there. YouTube, Facebook comments, Instagram comments. Yeah, YouTube, I'm way behind too. I'm sorry, guys. I promise I'm going to get to it. But right now, my other promise is to get on some lives with you guys now that I'm done with that board exam, or at least for now. I don't find out if I pass or not. I find out another month from now. So, all right, friends, let's get it going here. Let's get it going. We got, can I do this where I can access it in the right hand? Yeah, there it is. There it is. All right, that's much better. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's go here. Shannon Joanne Wright said hi. Hey, Shannon. BT Ream, I promise you were going to be first. Okay, and guys, by the way, the top 5 to stay on the live, I'm giving you guys a shout out in the caption on the full length version of YouTube, podcasts, etc. BT Ream said, hey doc, I'm 23 and I just went to a surgeon today to get my wisdom teeth looked at and I'm losing bone. Okay, I'm assuming that you're losing bone on the distal, on the back end of those second molars. Am I right? Is that what it is? Crim said, what made you decide to get into oral surgery instead of general surgery? So general surgery is the medical route. You have to go through medical school, etc. Oral surgery, you go through dental school. And dentistry versus medicine, the medical side of healthcare in the United States, you're more likely to get into practice ownership, leading to more autonomy, meaning like you get to call your own shots, you get to make your own schedule, you want to work weekends? You could go work weekends if you're the owner. You don't want to work weekends? If you're the owner, you make the rules. If you're in the hospital, they dictate the rules. I wasn't really interested in dealing with that anymore. And I worked in the hospital during oral surgery residency for 4 years. I'm so glad I went the dental route rather than the medical route. That sucked. Oh my God. 24-hour shifts or longer on weekends? On holidays? Yeah, no thanks. No thanks, guys. The medical side, yeah. Kudos to them. Don't get me wrong. Lots of respect. I did it. I don't want to do it anymore. We got bigger things in life to, you know what I mean? And remember, as a resident, you're literally making like $7.50 an hour. It's just, you got it. BT Ream, we can see. Oh yeah, because of the camera. Amish Gupta said Lefort 3 fracture treatment. So Lefort 3s, there's a lot of, it really depends. If there's a Lefort 3 fracture, number one, you need to get neurosurgery involved. Got to make sure that there's not a CSF leak, right? Got to make sure that the patient is stable. If it's a Lefort 3 fracture, that's significant trauma that was assaulted to the face, essentially, and that kind of trauma really needs to be evaluated by multiple specialties. They need the ATLS, that's the Advanced Trauma Life Support Treatment, that needs to be completely knocked off before we get into fracture treatment and repair, right? Otherwise, when there's Lefort 3 fractures, there's generally other fractures involved. And then what you do is you either do like a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, where you start with repairing the mandible fractures, and then the maxilla. You want to repair the buttresses, the piriform rims, and you do the ZMCs. That's the zygomatic maxillary complex fractures over here. You got the ZF suture, you got the ZT suture, ZM suture over here, and then posteriorly that you can only see on x-rays. You can technically see it through the orbit, but through the x-rays, that's the ZS suture. That's the one that you need to evaluate for, appropriate reduction, orbit, and everything. So the Lefort 3 fracture, getting to what the maxilla is the Lefort. It doesn't involve the mandible. The Lefort 3 fracture involves the maxilla, and then it goes up to here, but it actually encompasses out to the ZT sutures as well. So it's through the lateral orbits back here, and then it's a complete disjunction of the midface from the skull. That's what that trauma is. So, in case you were wondering, BT Ream, my teeth are impacted slightly, but they're straight for the most part in the X-ray. Gotcha, BT Ream. Okay. Straight for the most part in their X-ray. All right. So you were saying, but what concerns me is the losing bone density at the molars. Yeah. Sometimes you could get that periodontal defect. You get that bone loss on the back end of the second molars. And look, you're generally probably not even used. Look, I don't know. I'm not going to evaluate you through the phone. I only do consults like in the office and such. But yeah, it's very common for patients with wisdom teeth to have that bone loss, especially going into the 20s, 30s, or later, getting that bone loss on the back of the second molars, and it can become compromised later. You don't want to end up compromising your second molars or first molars if you can help it. The wisdom teeth are generally not even being used by most patients, right? I Like Machines said, you look so much happier after the board exam. I am so much happier after the board exam. And I didn't make working out tonight, but I was like, let me get on a live. Finally, my first TikTok live after the board exam. Let's do it. Podcast family, let's go. The TikTok live fam. TikTok live number 89. Can you believe we've done 89 already for everyone who's on here for multiple times? Thank you. Thanks for being a part of it. It's a fun project. You know what I mean? I'm here to help. And I am recording it for the podcast in the background, so I'm giving you guys a shout out. Top 5 listeners. I'm going to say it one more time. Top 5 listeners who stay on the longest. I'm giving you guys a shout out in the caption on the full-length version, podcast YouTube. Serta King said, favorite surgical instrument? Spade. Definitely the spade. Back action spade elevator. That's like, it's got a little spade looking thing on the top of it, and then it's an elevator. So I use it to get out root tips, to mobilize teeth, to luxate teeth, get them loose, to take them out. A number of things, especially wisdom teeth in the maxilla, sometimes using it there. I use it to split teeth sometimes, to complete a section after. Yeah, I'm using that all day long. Guys, also a quick question. If you guys could throw in the chat, would you be interested if I pick like case of the day, and I pick an x-ray, I bleep out all the hip information, I just hone in on one wisdom tooth or one tooth, and then I go over like in the background how I section that tooth. Say for example, like a horizontal impacted wisdom tooth. Would you guys be interested if I took the x-ray and then I drew out with like notes and markings and like the sequence of instruments I used, and then I could put up, and then if you wanted, I could even send, if you wanted to buy it, I could even send you that piece as like, I don't know, I could frame it for you if that helps. That would be fun. Could you let me know in the chat, would you guys be on the TikTok live for that? Would that be helpful? Would you be interested in that? If not, let me know, because I was considering that if other people want to see how I take out certain teeth, you know, learn from it. Melly said, did you like the Bad Bunny halftime show? I did. That's about the only thing I liked at the Super Bowl this year. What is up with the Patriots, man? Get it together. I don't know. That was, the game itself wasn't very entertaining at all. We had some great food, great time with friends, and I thought the Bad Bunny show was excellent. I thought he did a great job. I thought their whole team did such a great job putting it together from one to the other. There was a lot going on, but they had to fit a lot in. You knew he was going to leave like a subliminal message and stuff. Regardless of all the subliminal messages, I love the only thing stronger than hate is love. So I love that. Hopefully everyone appreciated that too. I really did. Jfcjdbddj, what's up, man? Hey Doc, hope you're doing well. How was the board and work today? Board exam, I couldn't read the examiners. It's funny because it's an exam where you're questioned on the spot verbally, and then you have to answer immediately verbally. And then however you answer, they're like, I understand. And then they just move on with the next question. So it's very hard to read them. It's pretty interesting. But, you know, it went smooth. So it's like, where can you fail? It's like where you can harm a patient or kill a patient or something and whatnot. I didn't feel it going that direction at all. And I felt like the examiners were really kind of like asking you very fair game questions. So all in all, like, look, I could have failed. I don't know. I'm not going to find out for another 4 to 6 weeks. But, you know, if I did, I did. I thought it was a fair exam. I thought, you know, I know I worked myself to the limit as far as preparing for that. And thank God I'm out of it now. Now I'm back in. Let's get back in it, everyone. By the way, I put up a quick podcast exclusive today where I talk about, like, the next step. So I did a 100-day study challenge for boards, and now I'm phasing out of that into a 100-day savings challenge. I think no one's talking about saving these days. I know I need it. I'm saving up for my wedding next year. I'm still renting my car from my dad. I'm an oral surgeon now, and I've been out of residency for over 6 months, almost 9 months now. And, like, guys, like, saving is a serious thing. And I don't know. I think it's something that most people aren't talking about these days, but I think it's actually something sure, you want to come on here and listen to an oral surgeon or a dentist or a doctor just talking about how much money they have. That is not going to be me. I'm talking about realistic stuff, things we can relate to. And, guys, it's a struggle out here these days for everyone. We're getting through this together. But who's going to take those? Who's going to? I don't know. I want to give you guys like experience-based stuff. You guys know my content, and I want us all to succeed. That's why I do this. You know what I mean? Coming on after a long day for the live. Let's keep it going. Let's go. I like machine. Oh yeah. Aang said, "How long have you been a dentist for?" So I graduated dental school in 2021, in May of 2021, and then I did 4 years of oral surgery residency, oral maxillofacial at NYU in Bellevue and the VA over there. And I graduated there just last June. I graduated there last June, 2025. So I've been a dentist for 5 years. 5 years I've been a dentist, but practicing as an oral surgeon, that's 6 to 9 months, somewhere around there. 6, 7 months. Mary Emma said, How was your school and personal life balance in undergrad and dental school? It could have been better. You know what I mean? Like, you keep pushing yourself to, like, to work hard, play hard. Sure, good. I'm all about work hard, play hard. I really think, though, that I think if I would have gone back, I would have lived life a little bit more, all constantly stressed, doubting what the next step was going to bring. You know what I mean? Like, it's so natural for us to get so stressed out all the time with school and then constantly bombarded with exams. And it's like so little of it actually relates to real life. And I wish I could have stepped out and like focused a little bit more on like the real life application. First thing that comes to mind is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I think that's closer to real life than school and like school education training us is for. Does that make sense? So I wish I could have stepped out a little bit earlier, a little bit more, and focused on the big picture of real life and where we fit in it as people and in the society. You know what I mean? Just simple things like having something, customers, clients, or patients. They got to pay for it. How do you get new ones in the door? That's marketing. How do you keep your business afloat? That's the finances. How do you grow as a business and organization? That's management skills, people skills. And it's all centered on a trade, if that makes sense. But learning more about that. So I'm starting it now. My dream is still to be a partner in a practice or own a practice or something. So now begins the journey of showing from my experiences. You guys know how I did, of showing that journey. So getting that exam, which is the last exam ever, out of the way. Now we're moving into the next phase of literally real life, reality. So yeah, that's where we're at now. Jfcjdbddj, yeah. God, why does this keep stop doing a drop down thing? It keeps moving when I'm trying to read things. Riley Fox, Meg Monet, thoughts on conservative treatment versus surgical treatment, TJR, more mid/severe TMJ arthritis. You're talking about TJR. That's total joint replacement for whoever's listening. TJR is total joint replacement. Always go to the conservative route, right? You need to go to the conservative route until you can't go it anymore. And one of my supporting reasons for that, and this is not medical advice, this is solely personal opinion, excuse me. My reason for that is the studies show once you open up that joint to one procedure, generally you're going to need more surgeries in the future. For those patients that have had it, they usually need a second or a third surgery or more. And I don't know, that's not me. I'm not really trying to like, me personally, I'm not, if I get one surgery, I kind of want like a one and done thing. Like I want my wisdom teeth out and that's it. You know, and the jaw joint, the TMJ, isn't always like that. It could get very complicated. It could get very sticky, right? So generally I recommend, let's start conservative. You know, let's start with modified diet, soft food diet, PT of the jaw joint, doing minimal exercises that don't cause pain, but help with flexibility and mobility of that joint. Possibly anti-inflammatory medications if they can be taken. Progressing onward, maybe you need muscle relaxants, maybe you need Botox to the muscles in the area if it's MPD, myofascial pain disorder, right? You need to distinguish if it's a functional issue or if it's just like around, if it's myofascial pain regarding the muscles and the nerves in the area, right? So there's so many things that goes on with the TMJ, but I'm a big fan of conservative treatment, going slowly in one direction versus just we're doing surgery with that TMJ. Make sense? That's my thoughts. Riley Fox, wisdom teeth removal this Thursday, woke up this Sunday with a cold, congestion. Should I postpone? You doing it under sedation too? Look, just my personal opinion, not medical advice. Sounds like something you should probably postpone. If you're doing IV sedation, going to sleep for that. If I was the surgeon, 100% postponing that, right? You can't compromise your lung capacity under an IV sedation procedure. And if you're congested, that's generally going to be associated with some form of changes in your pulmonary capacity. Make sense? BT Ream said, Doc, please help. BT Ream said, I'm losing bone around 14 and 3. Molars and my wisdom teeth are slightly impacted, not enough space. Surgeon suggested removing all 4. So look, I didn't evaluate you. I didn't look at the x-ray and everything. But if that surgeon suggests, I mean, you should probably go with what the consultation suggested, right? Especially if you have bone loss. Sounds to be like a good idea to me. However, solely personal opinion. This is not medical advice. I'm just trying to help you out, man. If that oral surgeon evaluated and suggested removing all 4, that sounds like a pretty solid recommendation from everything, the limited information I know. See, Benji, what's up, man? How's it going? OChem has been killing me lately. Ooh, dude, Khan Academy, great for OChem. Okay, you need to also be practicing those equations. For OChem too, that OChem is organic chemistry. I just slammed my funny bone. Man, guys, protect your funny bone. Great, what a pleasant surprise of the funny bone. So funny. So funny. All right, let's keep going. OChem, yeah, OChem, especially organic chemistry 2, got to be practicing the reactions there. That's huge. That's so important. Jared's Carrot Cake said, Are you going to have an elevator named after you? Wow. No idea. I've never even heard of that. An elevator named after me? Oh, an elevator like the elevator, like the Spade elevator. Dude, I would love for that. In fact, what I want one of the things I want to do is make a retractor, because the Minnesota we use here, we don't use the Selden retractors, we use Minnesota retractors, but the edges are so sharp. One of my goals is I want to create a new instrument where it's like a Minnesota, but it's called the Galligator. Or maybe an elevator, but the Galligator, I thought was cute. Looks like an alligator, but adorable, right? Turtable said, hi, my friend got 13 off interviews, but did very solid stats, didn't end up matching. Any advice? 13 interviews is a lot. Had very solid stats, but didn't end up matching. If you had 13 interviews and didn't end up matching, and you ranked all 13 programs, something went wrong here. There's got to be something that sounds like, if you have solid stats, this sounds like something went wrong with the interview. Not good. This person needs to talk to other people and gain the self-awareness and figure out what went wrong with their interviews. If they had 13 interviews, they had a lot of practice. Like, I think I would say sometimes you need like 1 or 2 or 3 interviews to kind of get warmed up, you know what I mean? They had 10 more after that. I'm not trying to like discourage someone or anything, but I would heavily consider that person needs to talk to all their family members and best friends and say, okay, what's wrong with me? What do you think went wrong in my interview? Am I too arrogant? Am I cocky? Am I condescending? Did I have a bit, like, did I wear something wrong? Do I portray myself? You know what I mean? They need to develop this self-awareness and ask their close friends and family honest questions and get honest feedback. And they can't get their panties in a bunch about it. They need to accept that information because that's qualitative info. That's very important info that they need to know for if they're applying next year. Okay, just some thoughts. Some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. No, okay, hopefully everything's okay on there. Talent Joke said, hey doc, what's a solid CBSE score that I should aim for? I would say, there's a lot of CBSE scores that you can get. Generally still, I think the recommended, if you have a 70, that's a strong score. Maybe you get higher, 70, 75. Try and just do your best though. You can't control what score you get, but you can retake it until you get a good score. So try and aim for that 70. It's not the end of the world. If you don't get it, still apply. I would suggest still applying. Maybe consider taking it again. But, and if you're close to that 70, I think that's great. It also depends on the programs you're applying to. If you're applying to a 6-year program, many times they want to see you get stronger scores. They need to know that you're going to pass those step exams when you're in the 6-year program and going to the med schools. Okay, so think about all that stuff, right? Okay, Turtable said yes, please. C. Benji said, yeah, that would be sweet. User263 said yes. Talent Joke said yes, I would be interested. Okay, so when I was saying before, like if we go in like the tooth of the day, how I extracted my technique on that impacted wisdom tooth. Okay, so you guys were like, interesting. Okay, I think I'll try to put that together. I'll do it on a live, right? I'll put in the background, and then, I don't know, I could, if you want that, I could even sell it to you if you want, if it helps, or you'd be interested in it, or like, I could even make an NFT it, and then sell the reprints, and then whoever owns the NFT could get 50% of the profit of the reprints. How about that idea? Here's another thing. Matt said, yeah, let me know what you guys think of that. Or just like selling the print. I don't know, that'd be fun. Matt said, are you from Boston? Nope, I'm from Long Island, New York, baby. Strong Island. Where are we up to? BT Ream said, so just remove wisdom teeth? I know you don't want to diagnose the phone, but you think that's it. Wait a minute. Yeah, BT Ream, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. They only recommend removing all 4 wisdom teeth. Just because you might have bone loss on the back of your second molars, that doesn't mean you remove those second molars. Now, I don't know how much bone loss you have back there. This is one of the things I can't diagnose or treat or recommend, but all I can do is vaguely suggest with my limited information, right? Does that make sense? That's fair, right? Talent Joke said, what hospital are you doing residency in? I finished residency in June of last year, and I was at NYU, Bellevue, VA, all in Manhattan. Killer Bean said, OMSITE reflective of boards. The board exam, Part 2 board exam is very, very different. Some people say that the Part 1 boards, the written exam, is very similar to OMSITE. The verbal boards is very different from OMSITE and different from Part 1. The oral board exam is different from any exam you've taken before. It's a verbal exam. You sit across the table from 2 board-certified oral surgeons, and they just keep questioning you, firing off questions. So, no, very different. Crim said, do you still remember that time the YouTuber Juan paid your rent while you were in residency? Yes, he did. And you want to know something really funny? Someone showed me that video because it's being recirculated again, and some of the comments were like, oh, you paid this is the last person, and then people were defending, like, resident status, how we literally get paid less than minimum wage, and we're doctors working, doing surgery in the hospital. Fact of the matter is, I never spent that money. I didn't spend a dime of that money. I still have that money cash because I'm going to give that to someone else. Regardless of how hard it was in residency, and yeah, it was really hard. For the first 2 years, I was negative both years in residency because after the little salary, after taxes, and then after rent, it came out to, I think it was 11,000 on the year that I could have for expenses for my first 2 years, about that. So yeah, I would argue I did need that money, but guess what? I didn't use it. I want to give that to someone else. I haven't figured out when or how. I wanted to give it to someone who was really, really nice to me in the hospital on those late nights that I was on call. Jamil, who was in the oral surgery clinic. He was like, he did like housekeeping and cleaned the floors and restocked like different materials in the clinic and stuff. And just the nicest guy who would be like, "Hey Doc, how you doing? You taking it easy? You taking it easy, Doc?" That was yeah. So a little shout out to Jamil here. I don't know. I don't think he watches the TikTok Live, but yeah, that's he made it really, really good. He was, you know, taking it easy. Really reminded me that when times were tough and there was nothing you could do about it, but like in your mind, like I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like an if you know, it's hard to even explain. I got to think about how I can put this into words, but yeah. He nice guy. He was always like, "Doc, you want some candy? Doc, you want this soda? You want this these? I got an extra bag of chips. You want it, Doc?" And it'd be like 12 o'clock in the morning. I'd be in the middle of like suturing up lacerations on people's faces. The nicest guy. Anyway, that's the first person I think like he should have that money. I gotta find him. And do that. Jay, declined my dental acceptance and going to apply to medical school. Realized I loved OMFS, but not normal dentistry. That's fair. That's fair. Jay, I'm proud of you for recognizing that. I'm proud of you for recognizing that now and not when you're caught up in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, you could have literally been years in, and now it's like, now what do I do? And I know people who get to that point, whether in the med school, dental school, law school. Yeah, there was, actually, I had a guy on the podcast. He was going to go to law school, changed and went dental. Interesting, right? Very important things. So, Jay, look, it's not the end of the world. Good you figure that out now and not later when it's really late. And never too late, never really too late unless you're like 67 years old and now you're going to apply to medical school. It's a little late. You know, I'm not saying you can't do it, but if you're 67 years old, you're collecting Social Security and you're applying to medical school or dental school, kudos to you. You know, I've never even heard of that. That'd be wild. I'd root that person on, actually. That'd be pretty sweet. All right, anyway. Dylan Chillin said, 9-year-old diagnosed with hyperplasia, less an animal or something on all baby teeth, move 3-4 adults. I'm not going through this. No, I feel like you're trying to trap me. I'm not going through a consult like that. Nye said, am I still supposed to have throbbing pain on day pace? You said pay 6. I think you mean day 6, like post-op day 6. Not bad, though. That's very common. Nye, I don't want you to get scared. Unfortunately, that's pretty frequent. You know, you get that a lot, especially after wisdom teeth being removed. That can happen. Nye said pain on day 6. It can happen. Talent Joke said, hey, doctor, what CBSE score should I aim for? Get an estimated 70% of interviews. You're really making this like quantitative, and it doesn't work that way. I'm just letting you know. You're estimated getting 70% of interview. Yeah, you can't measure it like that. It comes down to your entire application to residencies. You know what I mean? You could get a really high CBSE score, and if your whole application is garbage, you might only get a couple interviews or none at all. If you have a solid application, you did so great, but maybe the CBSE score is not that high, you still might get plenty of interviews. So think about that. Jfcjdbddj would definitely be interested in that idea of learning how you take out those whizzies. Also implant. Oh yeah, implants. Yeah, I like the idea of doing the wisdom teeth though, because that's like, there's so many different ways you could take out one wisdom tooth. That would be fun. Okay. I got to get like a whiteboard in the back that I could put. Actually, look at this. Look at this. I could put this up right here, and we could literally do it here. That would be fun. Jay said, what's on wrist? This is Tag Heuer Aqua Racer Caliber 16 Chrono. Yeah, this is my work watch. I bought this going into dental school in my gap year, and so it's been 9 years. I got this 9 years ago. And yeah, so this is my watch for dentistry, you know? Let's see. Yeah, cool. So I will do that. And then I'll open up, you could buy the drawings. And if you want, maybe I'll label them. I'll make like series, and you could like collect them if you want. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I want to do that. I gotta get like a color. I gotta get like a colored printer. I gotta be able to screenshot the thing and yeah, I gotta get the printer. I'll get markers and then I could go through it on the X-ray and I can answer questions as we go through a lot. That'd be sweet, right? Talent jokes. Also, what did you use to study? Study for the CBSE? Look up CBSE dissection on podcast, YouTube, those platforms. CBSE dissection is a review I did with Brandon Axelrod. He's a Weill Cornell resident right now in Manhattan, a current oral surgery resident who did great on the CBSE. And we did all the updated things, the recommendations that we had for studying for that exam. Okay, and we got a lot of good feedback that people have scored higher on later exams. So I would look into that. H. Sterling said, as an OMFS, can you work on more like than just teeth, correct? Like jaws, etc.? Yeah. OMFS is oral and maxillofacial surgery. Head to clavicle, we do a whole bunch of things. We do sedations. Jay said, what's on it? Oh, yeah, I did that. PAT tips or what? PAT, you mean the perceptual abilities test on the DAT? I would look at Crack the Dat PAT section. I think that was and Boot Camp PAT. Those were the two materials that really got it for me. Yeah. Ryan Moon said, hey, man, I like your content and your clarity. Thanks, man. I try to do that. Dr. Gina, what's up? What's up, friend? Dr. Gina said, hey, Doc, dropping in to say hello. What's up? Gina, how we doing? Thanks for coming in to say hi. Meg Monet said, Killer Bean, yes, weeks, but, oh, wait, so who are they responding to? India Earl said, I love your YouTube channel. Thanks, India. Thanks, friend. I appreciate that. India Earl followed the live creator. Thanks, India. Sweet. And, oh, man, here we go. Shav said, I did my first surgical extraction today. Shav, congrats, dude. Big day for a lot of people. Monday, February 9th. A lot of people with good stuff going on today. DHS shared the live. Thank you. Thanks, friend. APP 33 said Epstein files opinions. I didn't look through them. I don't know what to think. I didn't look. I didn't look. I don't think I'm gonna look. I think that's all just a distraction. Look, regardless, you, me, a lot of other people, we can't do anything about that stuff. I'm not trying to get distracted by it then. I'm trying to only focus on things in my day-to-day that I can change, that gets me to the next level, that actually gets me to a point where I'm happy in, I don't know, career or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just my thoughts. I think that's really important. 17 and I didn't have lunch today? Damn. All right, guys, I want to wrap this up soon. H. Sterling is someone else you can work on. Yes. User 117751. What are some classes to take senior year of undergraduate to prepare for dental school? Dude, take classes you enjoy. If you already finished your prerequisites, you should be focused on taking that DAT, shadowing to make sure dentistry is the right thing for you, and applying. Take some last year of dental school. I wouldn't think about taking classes that'll help you in dental school. I would take classes that you actually enjoy. You know what I mean? That's something that's overlooked. That's something I wish I did more in undergrad. Take more classes that could actually apply to my life at large. Meg Monet said, Killer Bean, weeks, post-op, bilateral, TJR, and Lafort. Talent Jokes said, are you related to Maureen Gallagher, also a DDS? I don't know. No. Maybe. I don't know Maureen Gallagher. Huh. Brendan, I've kept up with you since your room tour. Now you're practicing. Yeah, we're practicing now. Here we are. Still in the office. 8:18 at night. I'll be signing off soon. Amia said, Doc, do you like house music? I love house music. Are you kidding me? House music is yeah, big fan of house music. OK_by said, funny. One might even say humorous. Nice. That's funny. Thanks for including. That's a good one. Regency & Co. said, root canal treatment worth it? Well, it depends. It's going to be different for everyone. It really depends on the condition of your tooth. Root canals have been shown they can save teeth. Okay? Really good stuff. Dr. Regina responded to Regency & Co. said, yes, yep, I do agree. User 72526, I'm an OS assistant and the Minnesota edges hurt my hands. I know, right? Dude, that's my whole point. The edges of the Minnesota, they're so sharp for literally no reason. It doesn't have to be like that. I want to create a similar one, and I'll call it the Galligator. It'll be a retractor that's less traumatic on the tissue and easier to hold with your hands. Marlos, a question for you. I'll be 35 when I enter dental school. Do you think that's too old to pursue OMFS? No, I don't think it's too. Chief that graduated before my year, he was 48 years old. He was 47 or 48 years old when he graduated oral surgery residency. Yeah, so Marlo, 35? 35 is young compared to 47, 48, right? And kudos to them. Proud of them for doing that. I mean, that's very old. That's not very old. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean very old. That's a lot older than 35 to graduate in oral surgery residency. I graduated last year, 31 years old. I graduated my oral surgery residency. And we're practicing now. We're starting to begin life for once. Quick step back. One of the things that I think, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think, here's something I'm still developing. It's not a thought that I've finalized yet, but every 5 years after you're 20 years old, I think if you're going to be a true entrepreneur, you should be thinking of how to create, within every 5 years, a passive income stream. It could be a business, a side hustle. It could be live streaming and selling stuff. It could be garage selling. It could be, your job technically isn't passive income though, right? And when I say passive income, it requires mild monitoring over time, like maybe a little bit every day. I think that's fine. I think it's very acceptable. I would call that passive income, right? And if you don't do any that day, you don't make money, like something like that. But it could be stocks that pay a significant dividend. I would consider that passive income. I think every 5 years, I would put as a goal, if you're a serious entrepreneur, you're talented, I think within every 5 years, you should have an extra income stream. That being said, I'm behind on that on my own thought of how it should be. I do have a stock VOO that gives dividends. Sure, let's consider that one thing. I think that's a very basic thing you could get by the time you're 25, right? Next thing would be side company and stuff. I mean, I don't have anything after that. So my goal is to catch up and have 2 of them by 35. So 31, almost 32. So I'll have 3 to 3.5 years by 35 to catch up and get 2 more. So that's stock, sure. The VOO, let's consider that. Maybe reinvesting it, but I wouldn't say like ETH, if you're reinvesting your Ethereum, I wouldn't consider that a second thing. I would all bundle that all under side income, passive income, and in your investments, I would consider that 1. So that's up till 25. Since 25, I got a lot more to do. This is just a side thought I've been working on because I think it's really important. A lot of us want to be entrepreneurs. I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't consider myself one yet, but I would like to be, and I got to prove it. Proving it would be if I could get to that point of what I'm saying, passive incomes, at least 1 new one added on every 5 years. Just a thought. I want to know what you guys think of it too. And guys, respond to comments on the podcast and YouTube channel and on the podcast platforms to let me know what you think about these thoughts if you listen in. H. Sterling, as an OFS, can you work more than just teeth correct like jaws, etc.? Yes. Killer Bean said, at Meg Monet, nice. Hope the post-op is going well. You showed a good understanding of why you needed it. Say what? Asked, lost a couple root tips in the sinus the other day. What will OS do? Well, we could get them out. We might go in the extraction site. We might use a Caldwell Luck procedure. We might do a lateral window to access it. There's so many different things that can be done. Navjot said, what do you think of removing lower premolars to do lower jaw surgery? Usually we remove lower premolars for crowding, right? When patients need more spacing in the room to get their teeth in line. Jawan Shin said, do you think going to college at Emory would help with admissions to med school? It might. I know Emory's a very excellent school. Emory's an excellent university. I think that could potentially help. Depends on how well you do there and what you do there, what degrees you get, what extracurriculars do you do, what DAT score do you get? You know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it. Talent Joke said, interesting, because I thought 4-year programs were hard to get into. Sometimes they are. I know you're talking about the CBSE. They're very competitive. I say the data's starting to show the 4 years are looking to be more competitive than the 6-year now. Jay said, hey man, I'm a first-year college student. My major is bio, pre-dental. Any tips? 3.7 GPA currently. Yes. Make sure you're shadowing. Start thinking about when you're a first-year college student. Just keep that up. Keep that up. Maybe start shadowing for dentistry if you think you're interested in it to get a better idea of what different dentists do day to day. That's something. Keep that GPA up. Think about shadowing and observing dentists in your area. I would also consider, or doctors, like whatever you're interested in, and then you're going to be taking that DAT in the years to come, okay? User 1234569, can you tell if you have an impacted wisdom tooth, like without an x-ray? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You could assume that they're there, but they might not be. I know people who have, my mom only had 2 wisdom teeth. Yeah. Amelia said, are you anti-ice? Why? Wait. I don't want to say I'm for or against. Guys, let's keep this neutral. I'm here mentoring for dental school and dentistry and give you insight to the life of an oral maxillofacial surgeon. Dude, come on. Don't kill the vibe, dude. Sally McDaniel said, are you familiar with medical specialties, specifically neurointerventionalist, neurology background? That I am not familiar. I'm not familiar with a neurointerventionalist. Interesting. Very interesting. Belladonna said, how old are you? I am 31, almost 32. Jay said, tell us about your watch collection. I will have to get to that. Detroit JN said, did you pass your boards? Love your content. Hope all is going well. Thanks, man. I find out in 4 to 6 weeks. if I passed or not. Could go either way. Cappy Jisoo said, what do you think, which field of medical is going to thrive in the future in terms of financial? Hard to say. Right now, insurance. Insurance runs the world right now, and I don't see it getting better. It's not going in favor of patient care. Insurance is not going in favor of doctors or dentists or anyone that has to buy insurance, and everyone knows it, and nothing's been changing. Isn't that hilarious? It's disgusting, though, and patient care is only getting worse because of that stronghold that insurance has on. Pink Umbrella said, who chose Toro? Toro what? Toro what? Okay, guys. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to everything. I got to get going. It's 8:30. I'm still at the office. I got to get going. I still have to get my groceries. Oh, shoot. I got to do laundry, too, and eat dinner. I didn't have lunch. Guys, I'm going to sign off. I didn't get lunch yet. I didn't eat lunch, and I'm starving. I got to get dinner, and I got to do laundry and groceries because I was out yesterday for the Super Bowl. So, friends, thanks so much for coming on. Top 5 listeners to the podcast tonight. Guys, is Monday better than Sunday nights? Be honest with me. Let me know. This might be hard to do. I'll see if I can change around my schedule to do it, but a lot of people came on tonight. This was awesome. Let me know what you think. I'm going to scroll to the bottom here. Sunday or Monday night. Yeah, Monday nights is better. Well, I mean, technically we're Monday night, so I guess a lot of people. Lori Watson joined. What's up, friend? I guess everyone tonight or Monday night would say Monday's better. Yeah, you said Monday too. Okay. I might have to consider this because Sunday could be better if I do it Monday nights. But then, I need to get out at a decent hour. I got to get the workout in. Okay, bye. Said, all right. Last question. Let's go. Favorite Bad Bunny song? I think what you meant to say was favorite Bad Bunny songs, plural, right? Pichayal, Safarea, Nueva York, TT. That was a big one in the beginning. TT Mapugunta. But yeah, Pichayal, man, banging that. Safarea. So many. What's the other one? Eso. What's another one that I like? So many. Lo Siento. Lo Siento is a good one. So many. Guys, I wish I could see, because now I'm missing one that's offhand. What's the one that he did with that band? I love that song. So good. All right, friends. Anyway, let's sign off. Thanks so much for coming on. I love you guys. Top 5 listeners. I'm giving you guys a shout out in the caption on podcast, YouTube, etc. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on, guys. TikTok Live number 89.